Hello, everyone. Before we start today's episode, I just want to say that there's a door that I couldn't get inside of. So, since I couldn't get inside the door, I couldn't figure out how to get past it. It's most of this episode is just going to be a lore episode. We're going to go over lore stuff just because I couldn't figure out how to advance in the quest. So, near the beginning of the episode, I actually do a quest, like one quest I couldn't figure out. So, I was like, okay, let's just go to the library and read. So today's going to be mostly a lore episode near the end, but next episode I'll be able to finally figure out how to get through the door and continue on the quest. So anyway, I hope you enjoy today's episode. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the world of Thetis. We're going to continue on in our episode to get into that door. Yesterday, I rewatched the episode that I did yesterday, and I realized I sold off, I think, an important item. I think I sold an item I really shouldn't have sold
You're
because it's
back.
part of a
You
quest
got more
item.
business for me?
Actually, let me see your
Of
wares.
course.
I'm gonna see if I can get it back. So let me get that back. There we go. I just lost another one sovereign, but I feel like it's not terrible. I thought it would be a quest item, so I thought that I would be able. I thought it wouldn't be that, but idle dwarf. So I don't know how to get in there, so I'm just gonna start talking to people. Maybe if I just talk to people, that'll help.
Your clothes are so fancy. Did you get them topside?
I'm Theron. Pleased to meet you. Not even answering his question.
My mam used to say they don't got no stone to protect them topside. If I go up there, I'm gonna fall into the sky.
No, that doesn't happen. Nobody falls into the sky.
Yes. When my da left, he never came back. Who's to say he didn't fall up, eh?
Oh my god.
Don't fall into the sky when you go back up there.
I'm not gonna fall into the sky. That's not how life works. Do these beggars know anything?
Spare a coin? 2 bits for the needy?
Do you know where I can find Jarvia's base?
That kind of question gets a man killed!
Come on, guys.
Stop staring. Stop staring at my face.
Well, look at that. It's not often old Nadezhda sees a fine-dressed stranger here in Dust Town. Help a poor cripple.
I've actually helped enough people, thank you. And what'll you give me in exchange?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a way to get into the Jarvia. Into the cart. Know anything about the Carta?
Know it? I lived it, my friend. And let me tell you, it's worse now than in my day. Jarvia took over the Carta not more than a year ago, and already she's got every duster with both legs bearing swords for her.
Does the Carta have a base anywhere?
They do, but it's not easy to find. Jarvia's got real paranoid. She's got Carta members all carrying these fingerbone tokens. She scratches some mark into them so she'll know they came from her. There's doors to her base all over the city, but only one is ever open at a time. And if you show up without a token, you'd never know it was there.
Where do I find one of these tokens?
Can't help you there, Salrocka. The Carta members keep them real tight. But that's worth something, right? Maybe just a little.
Sure. Here's 5 for the road.
I'll think of you when I go to bed with a full stomach.
I swear, coming in this place, I'm losing money left and right. I can't keep money enough. Maybe this beggar?
Hey there, stranger. 6 bits for a tumble. 2 silvers if you all want to go at once.
What? Do you know where I can find Jarvia's base?
It's everywhere. That's the problem. There's nowhere she can't see you.
Okay, well, I know there's these fingerbone tokens, but I don't know how. What's this? The key to the city? Your efforts have been exemplary, But these self-proclaimed cartels must defer to the assembly and restore order. Exclusion from caste and society is no excuse. Perhaps suggest that it would be a simple matter to march on the quarter, or simpler still to withdraw infrastructure support. A tunnel breach would be most unfortunate, but current policy direction prohibits any deals that would legitimize cartel operations. Downward pressure on certain elements of our society has proven useful in shoring up the economy with an excess of affordable labor. It also encourages enlistment in the Legion of the Dead, the one accepted path to partial redemption and a vital force on our weakening front lines. This model suffers when criminals create their own hierarchies with alternative methods of social advancement. Every stone has a face that can't be carved, a side that must be earthward. We need their so-called dust town, but it would be inadvisable to include that in our negotiations. We have the utmost faith in you, Captain. The rest is obscured by bloodstains from a confidential assembly directive regarding proliferation of cartels. It's really interesting. Apparently, people were trying to find a way into Dust Town? The Casteless. Okay, the Casteless. The caste system in Orzammar includes many groups of privilege, the nobility and the warriors above all others, but to a lesser degree the merchants and the smiths and the miners. Tradition establishes a clear hierarchy, but as in any culture with an upper class, there is also a clear underclass. These unfortunates, the so-called casteless, are believed to be descendants of criminals and other undesirables. They have been looked down upon since Orzammar's foundation. They have taken up residence in a place called Dust Town, a crumbling ruin on the fringe of Orzammar's common areas. Orzammar society considers these casteless lower than even the servant caste. Indeed, the casteless are not allowed to become servants, as it is too honorable a position. Holy crap. They are seen as little better than animals, their faces branded at birth to mark them as the bastard children of the kingdom. Their home district, little more than a slum, is a haven for crime, organized and otherwise. Orzammar's guards seemingly cannot be bothered to patrol its streets. The best that most casteless dwarves can hope for is a life at the whim of a local crime lord, ended abruptly by violence and an overabundance of toxic lichen ale. Even so, there is some hope for the casteless, a dangling rope that offers a way up into greater Orzammar society. Since a dwarf's caste is determined by the parent of the same sex, the male child of a nobleman is part of that noble's house and caste. Strangely, it is acceptable for casteless women to train in the arts of courtly romance to woo nobles and warriors. They are known as noble hunters. Any male born from such a union is considered a joyous event, considering the low rate of dwarven fertility. The mother and entire family are then taken in by the father's house, although they retain their caste. The dwarves we know on the surface are also considered casteless once they leave Orzammar, although this is only relevant to those who return, if they are allowed to return at all. Dwarves who leave for the surface, the sun-touched, as they're often called behind their backs, lose their connection to the stone and the favor of the ancestors, and thus are worthy of little more than pity, for upon dying they are said to be lost to the stone forever. Put that way, it seems a sad existence indeed. From Stone Halls of the Dwarves by Brother Genetivi, Chantry Scholar. Wow, so basically, people that are casteless can't even find a way out. Like if you're a man that is in Dust Town as a casteless, you're kind of screwed. But if you're a woman, it's possible for you to romance or woo a it's possible for you to woo a guy and become in his family. Um, Pretty crazy stuff. This is the city of Orzammar. So let's read this just to get more familiar with Orzammar. The dwarves are lauded for their craftsmanship, and the city of Orzammar is one of their finest works. Orzammar lies at the heart of the Frostback Mountains, deep underground. The city arcs outward from the royal palace, which is built around a natural lava vent, continually fountaining liquid rock, which both lights and heats the entire cavern. The topmost tier of Orzammar is home to the noble caste, which their palaces fanning out in both directions from the court of the king, as well as the Shaperate, which serves as a repository for all Dwarven knowledge. Okay, so the Shaperate is a repository for all Dwarven knowledge. So that would be your lore scholars and your historians and stuff. They would be part of the Shaperate, I would guess. The lower tier is the Commons, where the merchant caste holds sway and where the finest works of Orzammar's craftsmen are for sale. In the center of the river of lava, connected to the Commons by a causeway, are the Proving Grounds, a sacred arena where the dwarves by ancient tradition settle their disputes. On one side of the fiery river are the ruins of old dwarven palaces fallen into despair, which the locals call Dust Town, now home to the city's Casteless. On the other side of the river are the deep roads, which once joined the sprawling dwarven empire together, but now, after centuries of darkspawn incursions, are largely sealed off. Nearly all knowledge of this network of underground passages has been lost, even to its builders. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetivi. Brother Genetivi was awesome. He like kept track of everything. So we'll catch up more on other stuff soon, but right now I'm going to keep looking around this town and maybe I'll find something. Alright, this is getting a challenge. I don't know who I need to talk to. There's Brother Burkel. There's a lot of stuff to do here. Legnar, there's a commoner. These are the bastards that tried to kill me. There's Fielda. Alright, I suppose we can start doing some stuff around the city. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 different quests that can be done here. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to talk to them to see what they say.
Maker's blessing on you, brother.
Maker? I didn't think dwarves believed in the Maker.
I'm Brother Burkel of the Red Cliff Chantry, returned to my ancestors' land to spread the chant of light.
Even in the very bowels of the earth, we hear no end of this chant.
And that is something to rejoice in, good sister. I'm petitioning to open a chantry in Orzammar.
Wow. And whose permission do you need to open a chantry?
The Shaperate controls changes in Orzammar's structure and society. I need the Shaper of Memory's permission to open a prayer meeting.
Ah, I see. The Shaper of Memories?
The Shaper of Memories controls the Shaperate, Orzammar's record system. Like the Chantry's historians, but more thorough. They track the births and lineage of every dwarf born in the city, every property sale, death in battle, marriage, or divorce.
Okay, do you want me to talk to him for you?
Oh, I'd hoped you'd say that. I can see the Maker's hand on your shoulder, guiding you always. Please let me know as soon as you've heard anything.
Okay. You know what? Every single one of them have like hair like the Backstreet Boys. Like, it's very early 2000s hairstyles. The chant in the deeps. Let's just, for fun, let's just follow this because I can't seem to be able to figure out how to do the other ones. Help Brother Burkel establish a chantry in Orzammar. Brother Burkel would like to establish a chantry in Orzammar to spread the chant of light to the dwarves. However, he needs the permission from the Shaperate to do so. You told Brother Burkel that you would speak to the Shaper of Memories on his behalf. The Shaper can be found in the Noble Quarter. Nobles?
I hear that elves have 6 toes on each foot. Is that true?
No. I'm gonna talk to Wynne because I talked to Morrigan, I talked to Shale last episode. Let's talk to Wynne.
I must ask, what does being a Grey Warden mean to you?
I think it means that I've been chosen to do something important.
There's that, of course. But there's more to being a Grey Warden than killing Darkspawn and saving the world from the Blight. Ultimately,
Being a Grey Warden is about serving others, about serving all people, whether elves or dwarves or men.
I see. So you mean to say I serve as a protector of sorts?
As a Grey Warden, you are a guardian of men, and you guard them because their continued existence is more important than you are. Thus it is you who serves, not they.
I see. I will keep that in mind. I appreciate your wisdom.
A good king, a true king who cares for his land, uses his power to rule firmly but fairly. He serves his people first and foremost. The king who does not do this, who believes that he is entitled to his power, who abuses it and uses it for his own means, is a tyrant.
She's so smart. This is why I love Wynne. She's like incredibly like intelligent, and she has so much wisdom. So, in a way, having power confines you.
If you live apart from others, and your actions affect only you, then you may do as you wish. But if you have power, influence, and strength, your every action will be as a drop of water in a clear, still pond. The drop causes ripples, and ripples spread. Think of how far they will go, how wide they will become, how will they affect the pond. But I've lectured enough for today. I should stop before I wear out my welcome.
Well, I appreciate it, Wynne. I really actually enjoy those conversations. So is this the Shaperate? No, that's the Chamber Assembly, which I don't think is the same thing. What we're going for is this over here. What is this? There it is. This is the Shaperate. Let's go in here. There's the Shaper. Just kind of want to look around. Wow, you know what? This is a lore library. This is a lore library.
From the memories?
Wow, look at it. Look at all of this. There's a book over there. I will be getting that. There's more books. There's lots of books. Okay, guys. We're definitely going to be having a lore episode here in the Shaperate. I think this would be a perfect place to be. But first, let's talk to the Shaper.
When I last walked this hall, Endrin was king and Orzammar was at peace. The memories often speak of the swiftness with which change overtakes us. But it is different to see it firsthand. I apologize, Warden. I should not burden a stranger with such thoughts. I am Zebor, the Shaper of Memories.
How do you know who I am?
The Grey Warden's visit has been recorded in the memories, along with all who accompany you.
Well, I would like to talk to you about Orzammar, Lord Shaper.
Ask, and I shall do my best to answer.
What's the difference between an ancestor and a paragon?
All dwarves who die return to the stone as ancestors, to guide their families forever. But only one every few generations rises to paragon. A paragon is a dwarf whose accomplishments change Orzammar so much that the Assembly recognizes they've been born blessed. They are venerated as living ancestors and found a new noble house forever bearing their name.
Wow. Are there any paragons in Orzammar right now?
There is one paragon of this generation, a woman named Branka. She was born a smith, but her inventions caught the Assembly's eye. Before she had seen 20 years, she created a smokeless coal. It could burn in a cave without vents and no one would choke from it. It earned her paragon status.
I see. And where is Branka now?
She went into the deep roads 2 years ago seeking out secrets of the ancient smiths. She never returned.
Oh wow, well that sucks. How did the caste system come to be?
According to our legends, 7 brothers founded our empire. The youngest, Bloadlik, was the wisest and was chosen king. His children formed the noble caste. The eldest, Giachet, trained his sons to defend their king. They became the warrior caste. Shatkyar founded the artisans. Orzatyar forged our first swords. It was Orzammar who dug the mines that became our city's foundations. The twins Koapar and Noct Both founded trading houses, but Noct was wounded in battle. On his recovery, he swore to serve his brother's sons.
And what about the Casteless?
The Casteless descend from criminals and those repudiated by their own families, or who chose to go to the surface and live by human laws. They have no ancestors to guide them and no families to claim them. They should not have been born. Their parents defied their shame and brought cursed children into the world. It's better they die young.
My God, this is no way to, like, treat people. This is no way to treat people. It seems easy for you to dismiss them.
Their births are not recorded in the memories. In Orzammar, they do not exist. Is there something more pleasant you wish to discuss?
That's messed up, dude. Can you tell me some of Orzammar's history?
We were a great empire once, outnumbering even humans and elves. We traded with your Tevinter Imperium, and our land stretched as far in the deep roads as theirs did above. Kal Sharok was capital then, but we lost too many battles. We lost our golems, and we lost our territory. Now the Empire is simply ruined tunnels filled with darkspawn.
And where is Kal Sharok?
At the other side of the old Empire. During the last Blight, the kings of Orzammar knew they couldn't hold everything. They sealed the deep roads, abandoning everyone still trapped in far-flung settlements. It was the only way to survive. Kal Sharok is the only other city to outlast the Blight. We only rediscovered them recently, and they still haven't forgiven us.
And what are the deep roads?
They were once our highways beneath the mountains. Now the Darkspawn claim them and few venture there, except your order, who enter the deep roads when they retire, so they can die slaughtering as many Darkspawn as possible.
I see. And how did you lose your golems exactly?
The Paragon Caridon, a smith of unsurpassed genius, invented the golems. For years they were our weapon against the Darkspawn. One golem is worth a dozen dwarves in battle, but Caridon's tide is far into the deep roads. When it fell, we lost his secret to creating golems. There are books about it along these walls if you would read more.
I see. What's a theg? I don't understand that word.
They are to us what a colony is to surfacers.
A colony? A theg is a colony? Let's go back to my first question.
Please, speak your mind.
I would like your permission to open a chantry here.
That is an odd request, especially for one so new to our city.
Well, I've actually come on behalf of Brother Burkel, a cleric of Redcliffe.
I thought so. This is not the first time he's made this plea. My answer to Brother Burkel hasn't changed. So I ask you the same. On what basis would you have me insult the ancestors and overturn 2,000 years of tradition?
Well, the chantry's charities could greatly aid Orzammar.
What sort of charities do you mean?
Well, the chantry will educate children of all castes.
I am not certain this is in Orzammar's best interests. Our castes have served us well, but it's possible this service could benefit our people. Very well, he may hold a prayer meeting as he requested, if not build a new temple to his god. At least the words would come from one of our own. Now, is there anything more?
No, but I thank you for your time.
I will record this conversation in the memories. I hope I do not come to regret it.
Alright, so the Shaper has granted Brother Burkel his permission to start a small chantry in Orzammar, and Brother Burkel will be quite happy to hear this. In fact, so happy, let's go ahead and tell him. Alright, so here's Brother Burkel. We can talk to him.
Andraste teaches that patience is the child of wisdom, but I'm eager to hear if you've seen the Shaper.
I have, and he actually agreed to let you hold prayer meetings.
Oh, praise the Maker! You truly walk in the light, friend. I already found a convert among the merchants who offered his shop as a temporary chantry. It's just by the tapsters. Please, come to our first service.
Actually, I would love to come to your first service. He said it's just by the tapsters, which would be right here, so it actually should be very close. It should be... I would think it should be right around here.
Ancestors, guard my son, for he is lost in darkness. Mothers, keep him safe, for you know what it is to mourn.
Wow. Okay, I don't see his little shop here, but I'm sure it'll be here soon. What's this? A wall carving? Ah, the casts. Let's go ahead. Let's see what it's about. Okay. So here we go. So we have already read one lore book about the caste system, but let's see how this one's different. Visitors to Orzammar should keep in mind that the hierarchies of Dwarven society are much more complex than our own. It is easy to gravely insult a man simply by mistaking his position. Since this can lead to unnecessary loss of life and limb, I will attempt to mitigate the danger for my fellow travelers. The society of Orzammar is divided into nobles, warriors, smiths, artisans, miners, merchants, and servants. Now you are undoubtedly saying to yourself, we have all those divisions among our own people. This is a dangerous misconception. Certainly we do have nobility, artisans, merchants, and these positions are largely inherited from our parents. However, the younger children of noblemen often choose to be artisans or soldiers. The sons of merchants may join the army, or become servants or apprentices themselves to a craftsman. This is all freely chosen, limited perhaps by the circumstances of birth, but still chosen. What is a matter of choice for most human folk is dictated entirely by birth for dwarves. No one may become a smith who was not born to smith caste parents. A servant who marries a noblewoman will never be a noble himself, and although his daughters would be nobles, his sons would be servants, for daughters inherit the caste of their mother, while sons inherit the caste of their father. I think that bears repeating one more time. A servant who marries a noblewoman will never be a noble himself, and although his daughters would be nobles, his sons would be servants. Okay, that's a very strict caste system. It's kind of messed up. It means that certain families are always they're like guaranteed to always be prosperous, and there's no way up. There's no way up. If you're on the bottom, you're on the bottom. There's no way to go up from there. And that really sucks. Like, I really don't like this culture. It gives people no hope. You're born and you can't control who your parents are, you know what I mean? But regardless, you're screwed. There's nothing you can do about it. And that kind of sucks, Mass rejuvenation, I guess we'll do that. So that's really disappointing, but I don't want to judge them too harshly. The captain of the guard. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to the Shaperate, because it's a beautiful... You know what I'm impressed with is that I have the ability to walk around this whole city freely. No one's stopping me from going into the common area. No one's stopping me from going into the Diamond Quarter. No one's stopping me from going into Dust Town. They're just letting me. They're just letting me do this. Hell, I could even go into the Royal Palace at some point if I wanted.
Furious at the Grey Warden's
But I'm going to make the rest of this episode a lore episode. We're going to go to the Shaperate, and we're just going to read a ton of lore, get caught up on all these codex entries I have, pick up a ton of books, and get to reading, because I think this would be a really good time to learn more about not just Orzammar, but everywhere, to learn about everything that this place has to offer. So here's a book right here, and this would be The Legion of Steel. We will see what that's about. There's a cataloger, there's a scribe over there. Here's a book. Deep Roads, going to be exciting to read about that. We've got more books laying around, so let's grab this one. We've got The Praise of the Humble Nug. Orzammar Politics. Legion of the Dead, Dwarven Faith. What is this? Wall of Memories? The Shaper's Life. Okay. And there's this book here. Traditional Dwarven Folk Songs. And a chest. The Search for the True Prophet. The Search for the True Prophet. This tattered tome explores the possibility that Andraste was a powerful mage, and not the Maker's chosen. It seems this book was saved from a fire at some point. Interesting. And then the Gloves of Diligence. Alright, so we've got a bunch of books, so let's get cozy next to a fire somewhere, or let's get cozy in an alcove of some sort, and let's read, because we've got plenty of lore to go through. Let's go to the back of the library. Let's read in the back of the library. Let's go back here. No one's gonna bother us back here. We're nice and cozy back here. Sitting next to a table. Alright, so let's open up our codex and get to reading. Alright, so let's start in quest related, just because I don't think that is anything. Oh, the Shaper's Life. Okay, so let's read this. The blessing of the Shaperate is given only to those who walk with a stone. It is a path that cuts deep, and the road is far from secure, but those who desire to work in the memory must first honor it, document the stone, protect her, and present a new histories to the memories. Only then will the blessing of the Shaperate be upon you. So basically, these guys just record everything. They just record everything. And I unlocked spell combination Improved Drain. The victim of vulnerability hex must be wary not only of damage from the elements but also spellcasters who wish to sap life or mana to restore their own bodies. The spells Drain Life and Mana Drain are twice as effective in those circumstances. Wow, so basically use Vulnerability Hex. So you use Vulnerability Hex first, and then Drain Life or Mana Drain. Probably Drain Life. So Vulnerability Hex and then Drain Life. That would be a powerful combo. Books and songs. We have quite a few. We have the Legion of Steel. Paragon Caridin vanished in the 11th year of the reign of King Voltor, and with the Paragon the entire process for golem manufacture was lost. Expeditions were sent into the deep roads to track him, but the Darkspawn drove them all back. Finally, in the 2nd year of the reign of Queen Getha, 126 golems, the entire Legion of Steel, were sent to recover the Paragon. None returned. The Shaper of Golems refused to support any further attempts to find Caridin, and the Paragon was officially declared dead. The Shaperate never recovered from the loss of an entire legion of golems, and never again allowed an all-golem regiment in the deep roads. Wow. From Stone Halls of the Dwarves by Brother Genetivi. That's amazing. So that's how they lost all the golems. They used all the golems to go and find the Paragon Caridin, who invented them, and they just disappeared. You know what? I wonder if the golems still exist deep in the deep roads. I wonder if they're still there, hiding away somewhere, for whatever reason. In praise of the humble Nug. What is this? I once served a human some Nug, and he proclaimed that it was like eating an unholy union of pork and hare. The idea disturbed him so much that he declined to finish his serving, and made himself content with some stale bread. Of course, this only goes to show that surfacers, human or otherwise, have tragically unrefined palates. The Nug is surely the most delicious animal I have ever tasted. Only a dead man would not salivate at the thought of tender morsel of roast Nug melting in his mouth. The Paragon Varen, although his house has fallen, shall always be remembered for discovering the wonders of Nug flesh. Admittedly, it was discovered only out of desperation, when he was separated from his legion and lost in the deep roads for a week. But we won't hold that against the good Paragon. While Nug pancakes and nuggets, my own children love these, are the Nug dishes one encounters most often, Nug can be prepared in other interesting and elegant ways. The late King Ansgar Aeducan adored Nug, seared on a hot metal plate and finished in the oven and dressed in a cream sauce flavored with deep mushrooms. You must be careful when using the mushrooms from the deep roads, because they often grow close to darkspawn bodies. They say that this is what gives them their unique flavor and intoxicating scent, but it also means that consuming too many of them may result in curious afflictions of the mind. From In Praise of the Humble Nug by Bragan Tolban, honored chef to House Aeducan. Well, okay, well, apparently Nug is a delicious meat in Orzammar. Maybe at least by him. I don't know if everybody has that opinion. Traditional Dwarven folk songs. Okay, so apparently the Nug is beloved by many dwarves. Nug sits in the mud. Nug wiggles his ears. You catch the Nug, he slips away. Nug gets to live another day. Nug sits in the mud. Nug wiggles his toes. You hook the Nug, he slips away. Now the Nug runs off to play. Nug sits in the mud. Nug wiggles his nose. You tickle the Nug, he laughs away. Now the Nug sits on my plate. Nug pancakes, a well-loved dwarven nursery rhyme. And Trian's journal. 21 Ferventus. Noticed Gorham running around trying to get pieces of my sibling's ceremonial armor ready for the feast. Stopped him and asked him how preparations were going. He mentioned that one of the bracers had a spot of tarnish on it. Was quite impressed at his dedication. He is most loyal to our family. 23 Ferventus. This would be 2 days later. Was on way to discuss the treaty with father when came across a messenger waiting in the hall. On being asked why he was loitering about the royal palace, he mumbled something about having a gift for the new commander, and asked me, begged almost, to pass along some object or other to my sibling. Me, the heir to the throne of Orzammar, does not run errands for a messenger. Must have been new on the job. Had him thrown out, however, still reeling from the gall of it. Learned later that Bhelen had told Messenger that quickest way to get things to our sibling was through me, and had made him wait until I came by. So, unseemingly for a prince of Orzammar to play such tricks, he needs to grow up and understand that as royalty he has responsibilities. 24 Ferventus. Found Bhelen's little playmate again, lurking about the corridors outside his bedroom this morning. Must have been trying to steal something, or already had. Bosom seemed fuller than most decent ladies. Some jewels hidden in the bodice? Anyway, pretended not to see her. Would have been awkward otherwise. Wish Bhelen would keep her confined to his room, if he must have her around. Little brother is too concerned with fun and pleasure and not serious enough about his duties as prince. Must talk to him about discipline when have time. The way these sentences are structured is really hard to read. Must talk to him about discipline when have time. Like, that's hard for me to read through this when it's written that way. Unfortunately, much too busy with the many tasks father has laid upon my shoulders. 26 Ferventus. Remember to send small token of gratitude to Jaelia Helmi. Alliance between Helmi and Aeducan must be kept strong. Lady Jaelia will, of course, accept proposal of marriage, since we'll be king sooner or later. But never hurts to be polite and keep the lady happy. Hear that there are some surface-selling silks. Maybe we'll send second out for something nice. Jaelia's favorite color, turquoise. 28 Ferventus. Heard about there being provings held in our siblings' honor. They did not have provings for me at my first commission, and I am the heir. What is going on? Must go watch these provings, make presence felt. Orzammar must not forget that I am to be her next king. From the Journal of Trian Aeducan. This journal is just kind of rambling, boring nothingness. I regret having read it. Okay. Characters. We have a few characters, maybe just updates, but some full-blown new entries. So Bhelen Aeducan. This is a time for action, not cultured debate. Third of King Endrin's children, Bhelen has always been considered the last and least of his family. Not the heir, nor the favorite, and not as accomplished as either sibling. Bhelen's most notable trait was his ability to stay out of trouble. My goodness. So King Endrin was the actual king. And here would be King Endrin. Denial of the traditions of our people does not qualify as a political technicality. Endrin of House it's so hard to say that. Aeducan? Endrin of House Aeducan traces his ancestry back to the paragon Aeducan, the greatest warrior of Orzammar's history who beat back the Darkspawn hordes in the First Blight, the second son of King Ansgar Aeducan, who became heir after his elder brother died in a proving. The most respected king is in 4 generations he restored contact with Kal Sharrak, the only other remaining city of the once vast Dwarven Empire which had been lost during the First Blight. Okay, so Kal Sharrak is another city, apparently. Another Dwarven city that had once been part of the Dwarven Empire. King Endrin Aeducan is the former king. He's now dead, I believe. And now Bhelen is the third of his sons. I don't remember what happened to the other 2 sons. But he's the one that's basically, he's the one that has the throne. He is the rightful heir to the throne. Then there's Lord Pyral Harrowmont. No one is born with rights to the throne. The sitting king may recommend a successor, but the assembly ultimately decides who will rule. House Harrowmont is one of the oldest noble houses, as old as Orzammar itself, Endrin's most trusted advisor. Harrowmont is well known for being an able administrator and the author of many compromises in the ever-warring assembly. Okay, so he's one of the main dudes when it comes to the houses and this whole thing where they decide who the king is going to be. But you know what's crazy? We only have 2 characters left that we haven't learned about. Only 2. That tells me that we're pretty far into the game. And then the culture and history, we have 4. So let's read those. Starting with the Deep Roads, that'll be cool. The Legion of the Dead, Orzammar politics, and Dwarven faith. All right, let's start with the Deep Roads. I'm interested to read about the Deep Roads, actually. All right. There isn't a dwarf alive who remembers the Deep Roads as they once were. They were the network of tunnels that joined the Thags together. And remember, a Thag is like a community or a group or a clan, I guess. We learned about that in another book. To be honest, it isn't even right to give them such a simple term as tunnels. They are works of art, with centuries of planning demonstrated in the geometry of their walls, with the statues of the paragons that watch over travelers, with the flow of lava that keeps the deep roads lit and warm. The cloud gazers up on the surface talk of the imperial highway built by the magisters of old, a raised walkway that crossed thousands of miles, something that could only have been built by magic. Perhaps it is comparable to the deep roads, although we dwarves didn't need magic. I suppose it doesn't matter anymore. The Darkspawn rule the Deep Roads now. When Orzammar sealed off the entrances to the Deep Roads, abandoning everything that lay out there, we handed over the kingdom that was to those black bastards forever. To think that there are genlocks crawling over Bonamar now, tearing down our statues and defiling our greatest works. Corruption covers everything we built out there. Every dwarf who goes out and comes back says it gets worse with each passing year. the foulness spread a little further. And the cloud gazers think the darkspawn are gone just because they aren't spilling out onto the surface. Huh. One day when Orzammar is gone for good, they'll find out differently. Those darkspawn won't have anywhere else to go but up, and they'll do it. The surface folk will have themselves a blight that will never end. Transcript of a conversation with a member of the Dwarven mining caste 890 blessed. Holy crap. It's starting to sound like the Deep Roads is actually like the breeding ground for the Darkspawn, and that's where the largest of the Darkspawn exist. And it's really important that what he's saying is that the surface folk have no idea, but there is a ton of Darkspawn in the Deep Roads. And if Orzammar were ever to fall, the Darkspawn will have nowhere to go but up, and then they'll be pouring out of Orzammar from the Deep Roads. That's really interesting bit of lore to know. Legion of the Dead. Yes, Stone's greetings, my friend. You will fight ceaselessly in the Legion of the Dead. Motto of the Legion of the Dead. The Legion accepts all. So I was told by one of the Legionnaires himself, a dwarf who waited quietly at the entrance to the Deep Roads for the rest of his unit to assemble. They gathered slowly, each equipped with heavy armor and fine weapons, each painted with grim tattoos applied to their funerals the night previous. For that is the nature of the Legion. They are all dead. Any dwarf may join the Legion, so long as he is willing to give up everything he has. The funeral rites are somber. A final goodbye is said to family and loved ones. Any material goods are dispersed to heirs and last words are said, and then it is done. The new Legionnaire marches out into the Deep Roads, never to return. The Legion fights against the Darkspawn to the last, striking one final blow against the monsters that have claimed so much of their homeland. Many join the Legion to clear the slate. Criminals join to avoid punishment. The dishonored join so that their houses and families need not suffer on their behalf. The bankrupted join so their debts might be forgiven. A very few join for a last chance at glory, but the Legion takes them too. This group hopes to reach the fabled fortress of Orzammar, once the Legion's home, associated with the greatest of their paragons. Orzammar is a holy place. Its loss the last great blow against the Dwarven kingdoms, and its recapture would be a glorious signal to all of Orzammar. But capture it or no, all of these warriors will die in the Deep Roads. It is a sobering thought, and I now know why the dwarves say the Legion's charge is the battlefield's most frightening sight. They have nothing left to lose. From Stone Halls of the Dwarves by Brother Genetivi. My goodness. So the Legion of the Dead, they're basically a military group consisting of people without anything to lose, essentially. People that have no choice, that have nothing left. And they basically go into the Deep Roads in an attempt to kill as many Darkspawn as they can and retake this place that they call Orzammar. That's interesting. Alright, we have Orzammar politics. I'm sure this will be interesting. As dangerous as it is to mistake a dwarf's caste, it is far more deadly to mistake his alliances among the noble houses of Orzammar. Everyone in the city is allied with someone, whether by blood or by word. The nobles do not engage directly in commerce themselves, as that is the domain of the merchant caste, but they do serve as patrons. They invest in shops or in artisans' work, and in turn reap a share of the profits as well as a measure of the credit. Merchants and warriors alike benefit from the service of a prestigious patron. The relative power of each house is ever changing. It is usually safe to assume that whichever noble house holds the throne is at the top of the heap, but below that, things grow into a tangled mess. Houses ally with one another by marriage. They earn rank and prestige when combatants loyal to them, or from their own bloodlines win provings. They earn it when artisans they patronize become sought after, or well regarded, or when the merchants they invest in become successful. The degrees of power that these achievements confer is so murky, even to the dwarves, that it isn't unusual for nobles to challenge each another to provings over whose smith forges better belt buckles, or whose servants have the best manners. What, are you kidding me? Nor is it out of the ordinary to find two merchants arguing over whose noble patrons has won the most acclaim, for the rank of the patron is the rank of the client. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the assembly, where the Dishers, representatives of each noble house, meet. Although the king technically rules Orzammar, kings are elected by the assembly, and so each king must work constantly to maintain the support of the Dishers. Kings who prove unpopular find their heirs deemed unacceptable to inherit the throne. Power then passes to another house. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetivi. He's basically filled out every lore book that has ever been written. Dwarven Faith. The Chant of Light is almost never heard The Chant of Light is almost never heard in the halls of Orzammar. This is hardly surprising, for unlike the elves who were literally abandoned by their gods, or the Teventers who worship dragons, the dwarves have no gods at all. Even the concept of worship is foreign in Orzammar. Instead, the dwarves seem to venerate the stone, a name they give to the earth itself. This seems practical for a people living underground, if perhaps a bit unimaginative. For guidance in spiritual matters, they turn to their ancestors. These ancestors are said to have returned to the stone, communicate their wishes to the living via brutal trials by combat, called provings. This is interesting. The ancestors' collective wisdom is maintained by the Shaperate, which can apparently store records in Lyrium itself. Set above the ancestors, above even kings, are the Paragons, dwarves who have achieved such greatness that they are elevated almost to godhood. These are the great figures holding up the hallways that leads from the surface, the first glimpse of Orzammar that outsiders see. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetivi. Okay. So, Paragons are even greater than kings. That's insane. Alright, so we have caught up on all of our codex entries. So now that our codex entries are all nice and full, why is she dripping with mud? She's got, like, stuff coming off of her. Okay. Anyway, that was going to conclude our lore episode here. We learned so much about so many different things here in Orzammar, and all the different casts, and the deep roads is really interesting. So anyway, thank you for joining me on this lore episode and learning with me. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.